Three, two, one. Anthony Darby, Peninsula Podcast, and I am joined with the infamous Donnie Jackson. Donnie, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
This is first off, let's acknowledge that this was completely different from anything else you guys have ever seen. Brandon Bell has been working behind the scenes to try to refine and really get our place setting dialed in for our podcast and our lunch and learns. And we're sitting in a new room in the building. You know, at Snow Hill, we didn't have any room at all, and now we got, all kinds of room to play with. And so this is the next iteration. Before, what you saw was us communicating and having our podcast in our conference room. And now we're kind of set in a media room that's just dedicated to just shooting these things. So I'm excited to be here. Brandon, thank you so much for setting this up. And it's perfect that our first kickoff is with Donnie Jackson. Now, we had Nurse Laura on last time, and she has been on the podcast 3 times. Is this your third appearance as well?
Yeah, this will be my third. I think
Whoa, quick tie for league leader. I like it. It's heating up. You came on, so you filmed one at the Chamber. You filmed one at PNC.
Yep.
Or the downtown building, right?
Yep.
And now we're here. That's awesome. My hopes today is why I had you up here was just to kind of provide a recap of 2020. I did this myself personally, so I kind of will guide the conversation, but I'm excited to hear your feedback and like your behind the scenes thoughts on some of these things that happened. When I look at 2020, it's really interesting to me to be able to look at it. It's like a 12-month block in retrospect and not be living in it. So I go to Facebook and I go to our highlights, and what I'm looking at is like our most active engagements on these posts and kind of figuring out what gained some of the most interest throughout the year. And like it starts off in January, and it seems like forever ago, but like January 7th, I'm doing an interview with the news because Sheriff Lewis is trying to pass a bill. Remember that?
Yeah.
How long ago does that feel like forever ago?
That does feel like forever ago.
It's crazy that just literally like a year ago, almost to date, my biggest concern in the world was like, are they going to try to arrest people for like taking an edible or consuming their medical cannabis? And so like, that was about 3 or 4 weeks of a sprint, and the outcome of that was really awesome. So I found it to be a very poorly written bill, but I understood Sheriff Lewis's intentions and why he was trying to do it, and also Jamie Dykes, our state's attorney. And I really wasn't thrilled that the bill was offered up. But what I was thrilled about was that as soon as I reached out to Sheriff Lewis, he took my call. We had an immediate conversation, and then, kind of blowing my mind, he shows up that Friday morning with himself, his 3 top lieutenants, Chief Duncan, Chief of Police, her top lieutenant, State's Attorney Jamie Dykes, Assistant State's Attorney Bill McDermott, and they're ready to talk and have a conversation. And we give them a tour of the facility. We get in the back, and Bill McDermott looks at me and goes, "All right, let's talk about the matter at hand and start getting after this." And I was like, "This is kind of cool." And we were able to find that middle ground within 2 or 3 minutes of the conversations. Like, I have kids. I don't want people just lighting up blunts at Shorebird Stadium in the middle of a baseball game if I have my kids next to me. And there's certainly parameters that are reasonable and expectations that our patients have already agreed to in their patient attestation form. So let's just model it off of that. And we ended up getting that progress. And then, because of COVID and some other things, it ended up having to get reviewed by the Maryland State's Attorney, and it's just kind of chilled out. But it wasn't this adverse situation where we're fighting the sheriff and state's attorney. It was everyone comes together. We craft a law that's best for Wycomico County in my mind and our patients. And it was like, wow, this is how we're gonna get started, right?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. We're lucky to have you, bud. Lucky to have you.
I'm lucky to have you guys and the businesses and Dr. Hoffman, Mary Pat. We have this credibility now, and it's like you can't just make it happen, right? We had to do the right thing day in and day out for the last 3 years, but now we have this full body of work. It's like the podcast, in the very beginning it was just a couple podcasts here and there, but we're over 30 podcasts now. We have a library, and when you look at our podcast, it's a reflection of our expertise. It's a reflection of us being able to demonstrate what we do day in and day out. And I just think it's as I talk about, um, I'm writing a blog. You'll see, I'll be putting out a blog about 2020, and one of the things I talk about is just how much we've accomplished. And out of any other year in my life, 2020 brought more recognition to me personally for some of the things that I was being recognized for. And as cool as it was that my name was on the award, that award goes to the team. That's this. I'm at the point now we have 26 employees. There's zero chance that you get to take full responsibility for anything at that point, because there's 26 people that are all serving a part and a role and are part of our team and are getting after it, that are allowing us to be recognized by the Baltimore Business Journal or get me an award that says that I'm the Entrepreneur of the Year. But I'm just, in my mind, I think I'm a good leader of amazing people, right?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So we started off with Sheriff Lewis. We had a couple cool podcasts in January. We had Tim from I Love Compliance, which was a way more interesting conversation than I was really expecting. And it was cool to dive into some of the other states' regulatory requirements and kind of get an understanding. And it just validates that if you're listening to this and you're a Maryland patient, like it's far from perfect. But Maryland's program is so good.
It is, man. It is.
I mean, we talk to people that, you have friends that live in Delaware. When you go play poker in Harrington, you talk to folks. And our GM's father is a patient in the Delaware program, and he told me today, like, the same few items all day, every day.
Yep.
So, I think Delaware seems to be doing some things to progress their program, and I'm really excited. And patients in Delaware deserve a better program.
Yeah, they do.
Were you gonna say something, or they definitely deserve a better program, and their problem, quite frankly, is that it's vertical integration only. And if we were responsible for only selling what we could grow and process ourselves, we would have, a tenth, maybe less than that, maybe a 20th of the product offerings, because what we're able to bring is the collective efforts, once again, of 17 processors today and 15 cultivars, and ideally within another 12 months you'll have at least 5 more cultivars and processors as well. So in my mind, it takes that larger community. And I was talking about this is kind of an interesting topic, but I was talking to someone who said, cannabis either needs to decide whether they are a pharmaceutical company or an agricultural industry, but no matter what, none of them are vertically integrated. Meaning that the gentleman that's growing the chickens for Purdue in Eden, Maryland, is not also at the grocery store selling them, right? Same thing with farmers. I mean, in micro concepts of farmers markets and stuff like that, you see that, but most of the time the farmer's growing it, he's giving it to someone who's either making something with that raw material or someone who's going to be the end seller of the goods from the farmer. But the idea of making the farmer be in charge of the retail side, the processing, and the cultivation side, in my mind, is a fallacy, and that's something that Maryland did not do, and I'm glad to see it. Companies have the ability to do all three and at scale, awesome, but to make that a requirement seems tough.
Yeah, I agree. Knowing what I know about the cannabis industry, I think those type of people are few and far between that understand and execute all three of those things well.
Yeah. So January, we got through the Sheriff Lewis gate, if you would call it that. We moved into February, and February is kicking off with a go. It was Black History Month, and we had Jackie Cohen-Roth, who's got the TPAD events. We co-sponsored the event in Cambridge with Daryl Hill. It was phenomenal. Daryl Hill gave an amazing speech. His experiences that he's gone through, from being the first African-American football player to play in the ACC, which, saying that aloud sounds just crazy, right? To doing business in Russia in the early 90s as an African-American. He really broke ceilings and broke down barriers in a way that provided him with experiences that are really captivating and awesome to listen to. So shout out to Jackie for throwing that amazing event in Cambridge, and shout out to Daryl Hill for always being a great speaker and always entertaining. we started teasing a little bit in February. So in January, at the very end of January, we let folks know something was coming, and Brandon took like a picture of there's a picture of me like blurry building, right?
Yeah.
People were guessing where it was at,
Yep.
and like, so like we had the place under contract in January, and we knew that this was coming to fruition, but like at that point it was just like the very beginning. And then we start teasing a little bit. So in February we brought on Joey Gilkerson on the podcast. We brought Mayor Jake Day, which was huge to have our mayor come on and give insight to what it's like being a mayor in a small conservative city, and knowing that cannabis is coming and how he approached it. Shout out to the city of Salisbury for being welcoming and looking at us as an economic driver and a good staple in the community, and they really helped us out. We, at that point, I think we had just teased Peninsula Wellness was coming, right? But there was no logo, there was no website, there was no anything. It was just like we had met behind the scenes as a leadership team in January, actually the exact same time. So right when the Sheriff Lewis stuff was happening, I remember like being heavy on my mind as we were forecasting and trying to plan for 2020. The four of us, Dr. Hoffman, Chuck Corpon, and myself, we went to Cambridge for like a retreat, and that's when we decided that we needed to bring a new brand to market, which is Peninsula Wellness, that would be more encompassing of the services of the campus. We were going to take away the cannabis leaf out of the logo and really try and make this a far-reaching brand, not just a cannabis company. And we came up with some other initiatives as well. And we were really fired up, working at. And in February, you see the fruits of that, and you really see us focusing on the new building and spreading the word about Peninsula Wellness is coming. And then good old March. And it was interesting from a retrospective view to go back and look at like our messaging. And in like January, it's like everything is great. In February, it's like more pop-ups than ever. And like, spring is here, is coming. And then all of a sudden it's just like special message from CEO Anthony Darby. Yeah. And then it becomes like, we're cleaning.
We're not letting anybody inside.
Not yet. That was the thing. Like that's the thing. That was a progression, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
In the beginning, like you can see in my eyes, like I have no clue what's about to fucking hit me. Just no clue. I mean, it was like, maybe we're gonna close for 2 weeks, or like I don't know, but like we're just gonna flatten this curve, and then like I've never been through a pandemic before, so it was really just like we're gonna clean and like we're gonna take some additional protocols and like don't worry. And then like shortly after that, it's like we're changing our hours, and like curbside is a thing. And
that's right. Yeah, we went to taking phone orders and slanted our hours.
I almost like forgot that we were only open from 12 to 5 for like several months.
Yeah, for a couple months.
And you're showing up at 9:30, getting in the hot seat, waiting for that phone to just go buzz, 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 trying to take phone orders.
That was fun.
Bridget's taking phone orders in the other room with other employees, and like I'm putting out messages on like, well, if you have an iPhone, all you need to do is just download this other browser, and maybe you can place it.
Do this.
Yeah, people are giving me the old one finger to salute. So we announced in March that we were going to implement iHeart Jane. And we started getting the ball rolling with that, and you start seeing I think you start really seeing the effects come in. You really start seeing the hours changing because we couldn't staff in the new model the way that we needed to, and like you had to have some level of staff that were off so that if there was people get sick, it was just like it was crazy, right?
It was.
Do we have enough hand sanitizer for today? Do we have enough gloves? Yeah. Everyone at one point, everyone was wearing gloves and masks.
Gloves and masks, yep, and sanitizer.
Man, it was wild. And that was like, I think March and April were kind of like the punch in the face in my mind. Like, we start seeing the way that we market a lot of our marketing that we do is event based and sponsorship oriented. So we start seeing the folk festival get canceled. We see the Salisbury Marathon get canceled. All these things that were like linchpins to our marketing efforts and linchpins to how we were spreading our word, everything is just getting canceled left and right. Delays, the grocery stores are crazy. We're understanding that our construction timeline is now going to be affected. And there's no way you guys are getting in by summertime. Like your best case scenario is like end of summer, fall. It was just like there wasn't a lot of great news for us in March and April, and why some businesses were getting PPP money and loans, and none of that applies to us. We had not all, but we had a lot of the same business challenges those 2 months that other businesses faced, but without any of the support, and we weren't, just being completely honest, we weren't suited to handle the new requirements of how we serve patients in the same way that some of our competitors were, because they had different infrastructure. Either they had much bigger spaces, they had different things, right?
Absolutely.
I think we were probably almost 3 months without letting anyone inside, right?
Yeah, at least, or close to it, for sure.
And that was just chaos. I mean, that was like 5 parking spaces.
Yeah,
and
the building was small enough serving patients inside, and then to push everyone outside, it was next to impossible to keep up.
So around April, I know that like I realized that like shit's going down, and it's unlikely that this is going away anytime soon. And the more agile and adaptable that we are to what's going on, the better we're going to be. And I also saw pain everywhere. I mean, you saw school kids that depended on the school system for lunches and food going without meals. You had businesses that were closing down quickly. And I remember pulling Brandon and Grace together outside at a picnic table, because we couldn't be inside at that time, and telling them that like I want to, like, we're the beacon of wellness. We have to change our philosophy, and I don't want to be salesy. Like I don't care if I don't even want to promote a product right now. Like I want to talk about wellness. I want to talk about what people can be doing. It doesn't cost any money to help themselves out. Things like breathing exercises and meditation, and
Right.
And those guys took to it. And then I said, I want to take the marketing dollars that we have, and I want to not just sponsor things, but I want to go help people with these things. Let's go buy lunch for Camp Hope, the homeless community. Yeah. Let's buy pizzas on the Friday that was a teacher enrichment day, which meant kids were out of school, and in the Church Street communities and some of the communities over there, they're not going to go without lunch if no one steps up. So we partner with Pastor Martin Hutcherson. He does the work. We just give him the cash, and he's able to go and facilitate the hard work and make sure people are getting fed. And all of a sudden, I feel a tide changing. Like I feel that the good work that we're doing in the community is being received, and people are recognizing us. And some of the changes that we had to put in March, like online ordering was 5% of our total volume, because it was wonky and it sucked through our POS system, and there wasn't a lot of incentives for our patients to do that. And then COVID happens, and online ordering and curbside pickup are everything at every restaurant and every pharmacy. We stood up I Heart Jane in 75 days, 60 days. And you fast forward 6 months, and now more than 50% of all of our business is outside.
Yeah.
So shout out to I Heart Jane for being a platform that was implementable in a reasonable time frame, and has supported our business to allow us to continue to do what we need to do and serve our patients. But what I'm trying to get to is just in May, like some of the things that we had to start in March and April, they finally started coming to fruition. I felt like we started hitting a run rate again with our marketing efforts. People were engaging with us, and things started to get a little bit a little bit more concrete. And at the same time, in March and April, we're still doing a ton of the behind-the-scenes stuff. So we're working on logos for wellness. We're building out the wellness website, getting some of the requirements around there, and start feeling more confidence. And then I believe it was June that we pulled you out of the dispensary. June 1st.
Yeah.
June 1st, I did a video and announced that we were suspending the phones until we got to the new business, because iHeart was there, and iHeart was the preferred way that our patients were going to place their orders. Yeah. And I'm 90% sure in that same message I talked about, I'm 100% sure, I talked about you being promoted, and us, because of the not allow patients inside, we were going to move patient services to the new campus in the meantime, which I believe was just a desk that we were hoping, like, we weren't even sure if anybody was going to come where we were going to put them. Yeah. And that was the so a couple of things, like, that was honestly another one of the beginning of the fallacies, where we tried to put too much division between wellness and the dispensary. And in June, you kind of really jumped out of the dispensary almost 100%. I mean, you were...
Yeah, for the most part. I started working on patient services, and I was out of the day-to-day stuff of the dispensary.
And I was too, and so was Mary Pat. And the end result of that is that our presence was missed in the dispensary when we were gone. And we've definitely gotten caught back up, and we're in the best position we've ever been in to serve patients at our new facility. But this was kind of our mindset, was we need to branch out, and there was so much work to be done on the wellness side. So much, we were building everything from scratch, and without a lot of resources. Yeah. And the dispensary was in the shell of itself anyway. I mean, at that point, we start letting patients back in around that June, July time frame, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, it was like, it was those two, like, makeshift.
It was bad. Yeah,
registers.
It was at a lower capacity, so it was, even if you were there waiting in line, you were still waiting. Still serving a lot of people in the outside, curbside.
So it really wasn't that great, but we were continuing to make some progress. And then July and August is really when you start seeing the building come to fruition. We start seeing the community room come into place, and we start giving, like, tours to some of our VIP patients. You and I broke up into two groups, right?
Yeah, that's fun.
That was cool.
Yeah.
And then, we start making our way towards, like, that August, September, and that was, like, kind of the great transition, where we went from, by the time we left Snow Hill, I felt like it was really like a car. It was like the first Honda Civic you get. It's got 200,000 miles when you got it. So you put another 20,000 miles on it, and your 20,000 miles included no oil changes. Yeah. You just ran that thing. I mean, I felt like I handed it over like it was still smoking.
Yeah.
And we transitioned in 3 days, which is pretty amazing, right?
Really amazing, yeah.
I got to be honest. I was impressed that we closed not even early on a Saturday. We closed on Saturday.
Yeah.
We didn't close. We were open on a Saturday, and then when we closed, we started doing some of the pre-work. Nothing happened on Sunday, and we moved that Monday, and then we did a soft opening Tuesday afternoon,
and then opened the public Wednesday morning.
Opened public on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a crazy turnaround when you think a whole business. Yeah.
And there was some aches and pains. I mean, it wasn't. The business doesn't look like it did when we first opened that day. We've made a bunch of adaptations, and the wellness side was really thin. We've come leaps and bounds there to get more products and get more things in place there for folks. What do you remember? Like, what do you remember about the first week?
So I guess there's definitely a level of uncertainty. Even being with us since the beginning, I didn't really know what it was going to be like. I felt it was going to be busier because there's more access to us with the parking and stuff, So just the ability to have more people here at one time, I thought it would be cool. We'd be busier. I was 100% right about that. It was those first couple of days, I think Cody lined up pop-ups, and man, wow, it was just person after person
Curio,
after person.
They were good pop-ups.
Yeah,
too.
they were great ones too. They were the best ones.
And that's when I realized that we needed a buzzer system for the line.
Yeah, so it's funny. I don't know if this is bad or good, but I felt like as soon as I saw that, I was like, damn, we could have used a bigger parking lot. It's just like, holy shit.
So it's a great point. Like, sorry. No. I said fuck earlier, and you're apologizing about damn.
All right, sorry.
This is going on PBS, I promise you. So I literally had, all right, so we map out everything the best we can, and we have all the space and 50 parking spaces, and in my mind, like, this is like the holy grail.
Yeah.
And 3 hours into our first day, I go, so my office is on the second floor, and we have a little kitchenette with the window that faces the parking lot, and I walk in to grab a water, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a line of cars, and they're blocking all the parking spaces, and then I'm realizing that cars are stuck on Mount Herman Road, and I walk to the other side of the building and realize that, oh shit, they can't even get in the parking lot.
Wow.
I realized that my next door neighbor's parking lot that hasn't been filled in the last 180 days of construction all of a sudden is packed.
Jam-packed.
Oh, by the way, we're banging into their building because when we were hitting their building,
from
our
the side.
patients, we had to realign the way that our parking spaces were aligned because it wasn't conducive, and it actually, if you weren't paying attention, it was kind of easy to back into our neighbor's building.
Yeah. It may have happened.
Might have happened a couple times.
They're great neighbors.
I might have had the regional director come down from Philadelphia to introduce herself to me and ask what we could do about some of these situations. But so it was humbling that we had this huge space, all those parking spaces, and we still required really good logistics and really had to make sure that we were maximizing our efficiencies to make it work. And
Right.
I did feel a little bit like this place is not as big. This place is nowhere near as big as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And if we're going to continue to grow, we may eventually need to go to our patients.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we're going to look into in 2021 is if we want to continue to grow at the rate, this is just exploration, but what does delivery look like in a very close proximity to our dispensary so we can service our patients within county?
Right.
Because we have over 550 patients that run through our dispensary now,
Right.
on some days, and that's a lot of people. And
That's one day.
yeah, it's one day.
That's just one day.
It's just one day.
Yeah, that's one day.
That was one day last week,
That's-
and that happened twice in the last week and a half. And what I would argue is that I don't want to get political, but this is why sometimes there's a conflict between business and government and regulation. And the way that we're regulated only allows us to have one location. And if we were any other business in the world, you would have taken your success that we had at Snow Hill Road, we would have gone to the bank and said, we have proven that our model is very effective. I need a second location to better serve my patients. Please give me a loan for my second location. And I would start a second location, and ideally that would go well, and I'd build out a third, a fourth, and a fifth. But the cannabis industry says you're only allowed to have one location. So with the volume that we do, besides having like a secret, it's like one location is going to be tough no matter what, right?
Absolutely.
So we have the space, and it's also interesting. My head's all over the place, but I'm thinking about this. It's also interesting to think about how, quite honestly, 350 patients almost shut us down day one and day two, and now we roll through 550, and it's pretty smooth.
Yeah.
Our team has adapted. Our processes have evolved downstairs, so that we are night and day better than we were when we first opened. But it's just a logistics issue. I mean, if you bring that many people through one single building and one single location, there's going to be congestion.
Right.
And congestion is not great to have during COVID.
Nope.
So but I think we've done the most with it. We put in a buzzer system. We've kind of advanced. I remember, it's funny you talk about like the uncertainty. Like, I have no clue what to expect. Like, we're just going to open these doors and we're going to navigate through. And the first couple weeks, especially on the wellness side, were like humbling. we realized that we were really going to have to bring our A game and really drive the value and education of what we're doing on that side of the house, because although it makes complete sense to us, it wasn't apparent to our total patient base. And then also the foot traffic and just the general public. We canceled a groundbreaking, we canceled a ribbon cutting, we canceled a business after hours. We canceled several opportunities that would have allowed people to come to our campus and experience it firsthand, that really, in my mind, we never made up for, and we will in 2021 when, as the vaccine proves efficient and we start getting back to normal. But the dispensary, as an essential business and as a business that had a patient base following for 3 years, we took a hit in Q2 into Q1, but the business grew. We added patients, and it was better off. The wellness is the one that didn't have that insulated license of a cannabis. Right. That kind of like took us a little bit. But I was really happy with how we ended up at wellness at the end of the year.
Yeah, me too.
And a lot of that is to your efforts, and I thank you for leading the helm down there, and understanding that we needed more cannabis accessories to better support our patients. They should not have to go somewhere else for some of these essentials that we need, and it makes more sense for wellness to be down there. And I wasn't sure from just an optic standpoint of how great that was, but I truly buy into it now. And sometimes I'm a little sensitive to these things.
I can understand it. You're not the only one, and I feel like you're sharing that same sentiment.
Yeah, it's not even my sentiment. I don't. It doesn't bother me, right?
But I
try to be mindful of the. Yeah. The person we built this dispensary around, for good, bad, or other, was a 70-year-old woman that got Lyme disease for the first time. We wanted to make sure that when she walked through our doors, she felt comfortable and wasn't put off. Yeah. And that was my vibe here as well. And in the wellness shop, I didn't want it to look like a head shop as soon as you walked in, and it doesn't. We have some really, really great supplements and products that are focused around health. And then we have some products that if you are a cannabis user and you need a new bong, or you need a dab rig, or you need a banger, or you need a carb cap, we got it now. One-stop shop. So, and you're working on building that out.
Yeah, I would say over the next 3 months, you should expect to see the wellness retail shop just evolutionize into a little more. We're just going to try and, like Darby said, we're going to try and offer everyone a little something to support their reason why they're here.
Yeah. And of course, we started to do a couple events, in-person lunch and learns and things like that. They were selling out. We were doing good with them. We were in limited numbers because of COVID, obviously, but and then by like October, November, it seemed insensitive. If you couldn't go to Thanksgiving, then why should you come here? Anthony Darby talk about terpenes.
Right, yeah.
And we shift everything virtual, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm excited for in 2021 is, I think that I don't think it's happened as quickly as I would like, as nothing ever does. But we've adapted to a very virtual content offering and allowing people to digest these things on YouTube and digest all these different pieces of information, that I think when we open our doors in 2021 for these public events, and it is safe to do so, I know that there's a demand for it when we do it.
Yeah, 100%.
What's the thing, this is put you on a spot, but is there one thing that you're most excited for in 2021 with the campus or dispensary?
Well, this is an on-the-spot answer, so there's probably more fruitful things. But one thing that I've really been looking forward to is having the ability to have our full team under the same roof and us all work towards the same goal. I feel like for the last 3 years, we've all worked together, but we've kind of been pushed our separate ways and put here and there. But now that we're here, I think it's going to be cool to see what we're capable of doing and what we're capable of offering to patients.
That's definitely top of my list as well. And I alluded to it earlier, but we started off in 2020 with a very divisionalized outlook. And part of that is because of one of our businesses is federally illegal and one is not federally legal.
Right.
And there's only so much continuity that we can have between them before both businesses become federally legal.
Right.
But I think that, being honest, I think I erred way too far on the separation side of it, and it was at the cost of our patients' experience. And now I know that, you know, you have a presence in the dispensary on Mondays now, and Dr. Hoffman is doing pop-ups in the dispensary and getting back in there. And if there is a patient services issue, like, you can walk and open a door and, like, you're right there. And
Right.
Cody is talking to the wellness side more. Wellness is talking to Cody, and everything is really starting to come together. And I think out of all the things, that was a good answer for being put on the spot, Donnie. I think that's probably that's what's, in my mind, that's going to be the biggest driver of the cool things to come in 2021, is the fact that everyone's under one roof now, and we have a lot more continuity. Even in our marketing efforts, Brandon was kind of in the same boat of focus on wellness. And now that that's built, I think the thing I'm most excited for is we built so much in 2020. We built a new location. We built the website. We built the brand. We're not building a whole lot this year. We're growing. We are nurturing and nurturing, but we get a chance to kind of go from good to great, in my mind, of all these good things that we built, and really make them awesome, and continue to build upon that patient experience, and that's what gets me fired up.
Yeah, same here, man. I'm all about the patients. That's
Awesome.
man.
I think that's probably a good place to stop. Thank you so much for joining me and running through 2020. Let's make sure we get you on one more time soon, so you can be in first place, the league leader of podcast appearances.
Yeah, you hear that, Laura? Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I feel so blessed to be part of this team. I can't wait to see what we do, man.
Donnie loves nothing more than being stuck on a camera and having to be recorded talking, so we'll get him on here more. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Everything you do for our patients, and one of my best friends in the world, man. Thank you so much.
My man.
Signing off.